Hey, welcome to Borsellino Carpentry. So this video is part 5. This is the last part of the series of installing pre-finished hardwood floors. This has been a long process working on these floors in this house. Glad it's finally done. So let's jump right into this. So now first thing I gotta do is put the rosin paper down, and I just roll it out and use staples to hold it down. Once the rosin paper's down, I've got to put the spline in. I've got this little pile of wood here. Those are little splines I made. And so I've got to get the pattern that's over here in front of the stairs and make that continue into the other room. So I'll figure that out so that it all blends right in. Alright, so I've got a bunch of little scraps here. I'm going to lay them out in the same pattern that I had on the other side of this wall, make a bunch of marks, and then write down the number, the size of the board. And then I'll also figure out the pattern for the rest of the way to the end of the rosin paper. Okay, well, I've got it all figured out here. I've picked out what pattern I like and trying not to have any seams line up with any other seams to keep this as random as possible. So you can see all the random boards here. There's 2 different sizes of the 8-inch board, and then there's 1, 2, 3, there's a 4th one here that I don't have any, that I ran out of. And then that's the 4-inch. And then every once in a while you get a really long 4-inch board there. And here's 2 different sizes of the 6-inch boards, and then a couple stacks of cutoffs I've got laying around. So I use all that. I use up all my cutoffs and everything, and I just keep mixing the patterns around until I'm really happy with what I've got. Trying not to have any seams too close together or repeating patterns. And now that I'm happy, we're going to get ready to pull this back apart and start installing it. Alright, here I go pulling this all back apart. So I'm going to mark where all of my seams are, and then I'm going to just go one row at a time, pull these things out so I know where they all are, and I'm going to push them forwards and work my whole way back, and then start from that end and work my way back across the room. So I'm just marking the ends here so I know where these boards go, slide it out of the way, and then where that mark is, now I can measure and I'll know exactly where to cut the end boards. So there's that one, and then this one is one of these really long ones. I'll measure that. And you always have to remember to subtract about 3/8 of an inch from the wall, because you want these not to be tight to the wall. So once I got them both marked, we're just going to cut these and they'll be ready to lay in. Alright, so those are both cut. I'm just going to lay everything down and make sure that the lengths are all good before I go on to the next one, in case I have to recut anything. And hello there. It's looking good, so we'll move on to the next one, and we're just going to repeat that same process for this whole room. So I'm going to do a few rows at a time here, less trips up and down the stairs. So I'll get these all marked, stack them up, bring them all out and cut them at the same time. Alright, so I'm marking these, cutting these, pulling these all apart. This is a very repetitive process. I don't know how long this actually is going to take. It's quite a while, but let's do a little hyperspeed here. Let's speed it up even a little more. And I think I can go even a little bit faster for you. 20 times, 50 times, yeah, 50 times speed. That's good. Let's get this over with. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now it's time to put the spline in. And basically, so we're coming in from the other room. The groove, we started this direction, and we have to switch directions now. I have all these little pieces of wood that I've made that we're going to stick in this groove and make another tongue, basically. So I have something to nail this last board down with and have one for the next board to meet up with. And I basically just lay these in there. They're so thin I can just snap this last one in place to fit. And if you want to see my last video, I go and I talk a little bit more about how you make these, but you just make it the same size as the tongue, but twice as wide. And once I get that thing all in place real good, I'm going to get my gun here and we will nail it in. I'm going to use my hammer here and give this a little tap, make sure the spline's in really good, and then use a crown staple gun and just shoot this on a 45-degree angle and work my way right down this whole board here. And when you're nailing this in, you got to be really careful that you're nailing right in the crack and you don't want to accidentally nail through the face or too low or anything. And once that's in, get the next board in place in a tapping block. I'm going to set this. I'll grab my little blue bar, which you slide over the end and give it a couple whacks. And that pulls everything tight. I'll grab my flooring nailer, and you're going to put flooring nails every 4 to 6 inches or so. Not too close to the ends, a couple inches in from the ends. And we're ready to pull the next ones into place, and then we'll be making a cut here when we hit the wall. So I'm just going to mark this out, and again I need about a 3/8 of an inch gap. And there we go, got that cut, stick it in there, mark my last little piece. I'm going to use a level for a straight edge so I can make sure that this whole line is running straight. Nail that in, use a finish gun to face nail these because I can't get a flooring gun in there. And then I'll set my next row in place, making sure to keep that about 3/8 off the wall, and I will just start hammering them in again every 4 to 6 inches or so, using my blue bar in the end to make sure that all the butt ends are tight, and then on to the next row and just repeat the process all the way across the floor. Alright, let's do another little hyperspeed here. Get this rolling. Tons of work in just seconds. Flying through it. There we go. Another row. Another row. Another row. Bam! Alright, so there they are all nailed in. I've got 3 rows left to do, but I'm almost out of the rosin paper here, so I'm going to move all of this stuff out of the way, put another row of rosin paper down, and then nail those down, but it's looking pretty good, I'd say. Yeah, I like it. Alright, now here I'm going to repeat the process from earlier. I've got it all laid out how I want to do it with scraps, so you can see all the different widths I'm going to do, and I've got all my boards moved out of the way over here. Alright, so here we go. Everything's all laid out the way I want to do it. Again, I think this looks really good. I'm ready to start cutting and then nailing this in. Okay, I've got everything cut and ready to install. So, as you can see here, it's ready to go. And again, we're going to do this in a little hyperspeed here. This is about 20 minutes worth of work in about 30 seconds, just like they do it on HGTV. Okay, so I have taken the cover off of the heater and I unscrewed it and I actually lifted it up a little bit so that I can slide everything in here, get my pry bar in there, and then I'll drop it down onto the floor. And I made these cuts so there's a little room around this pipe so that nothing squeaks at all. The floor can move if it has to. I didn't leave a huge gap, but just a little something. And this last row just gets face nailed. Okay, so here's the finished floor. I think it came out really good. Got the cover back on the heater, just got to pop the trim back on. And we're going to repaint this room before we move all the furniture back in. And I'm not going to bother videotaping the closet. It's the same thing, just in a smaller area. So that's it. All right, thanks for watching. And I'll put some links in the description below for the beginning videos, and I will see you on the next video.